Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, 2 brutal terror attacks take place in the West Bank. The Israeli Prime Minister attempts to stop a new EU resolution, and the Pope visits a historical synagogue. I'm Natasha Kirchak here with the latest news in Israel. The wave of terror continues in the West Bank. This morning, a pregnant woman was stabbed in a terrorist attack in the Israeli settlement of Tekoa. 30-year-old Michal Froman suffered stab wounds to her upper body and was evacuated to Jerusalem Hospital. She's reportedly in moderate but stable condition. Her attacker was identified as a 15-year-old Palestinian, and he initially fled the scene of the attack. He was later shot by security forces in the community and evacuated to a hospital for treatment. In response to the recent violence, the Israeli army will be changing its operational deployment in the West Bank. Israeli troops will be returning to positions and checkpoints that were previously abandoned. Meanwhile, thousands of mourners attended the funeral of 39-year-old Daphne Meir, who was stabbed to death last night in a brutal terror attack. The funeral procession headed out from the West Bank to a cemetery in Jerusalem. Meir's husband and son recited the mourners' prayer. The Israeli mother was murdered in the entrance to her home in the West Bank settlement Otniel, in front of her teenage daughter. The assailant managed to escape the scene. Meir worked as a nurse and was a mother of 6, including 2 adopted children. Today, the manhunt continues to find the terrorist who murdered her. Security forces are searching for the knife-wielding assailant, who slashed Meir to death and then fled to a nearby Arab village. The attacker is allegedly a Palestinian construction worker who had a permit to work in the Israeli settlement. Meir's 15-year-old daughter witnessed the attack, and she told the police that the attacker fled because he couldn't remove the knife from her mother's body in order to attack the rest of the family. Meir is the 28th Israeli fatality in the latest wave of terror in Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu is vowing that the terrorist will pay for his crime.
המחבל הנתעב שרצח אתמול את דפנה מאיר, שגידלה יחד עם בעלה 6 ילדים, המחבל הזה ייתפס. אני מבקש לשלוח את תנחומיי לנתן, לילדים, למשפחה כולה. עם ישראל כולו דואב עמכם. שוחחתי אמש עם יוחאי דמרי, ראש המועצה. ביקשתי ממנו לחזק את התושבים, אמרתי לו שאנחנו נחזק את היישובים. כל מי שינסה לפגוע בנו, אנחנו נמצא איתו את הדין. בסופו של דבר נמצא אותו, והוא ישלם את מלוא המחיר.
The Israeli Prime Minister has launched an intense lobbying campaign to block a new EU motion, which essentially calls for the boycott of Israeli settlements. The draft resolution intends to intensify the distinction between Israel and Israeli settlements. It calls for ensuring that agreements between Israel and the EU only apply to Israel and not its settlements. Prime Minister Netanyahu is already asking 5 EU states to oppose the resolution, claiming it applies a double standard to Israel. The Israeli leader has spoken to the leaders of Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, reportedly because these countries have the most favorable attitude towards Israel. The new resolution is expected to be published later today in Brussels.
ברור לגמרי שיש פה אבסורד, שיש פה עיוות מוחלט, והדבר הזה אנחנו תוקפים בכל לשון ודוחים על הסף. אני מקווה שהרוח הזאת לא תימשך בדיונים של שרי החוץ של האיחוד האירופי השבוע. הסטנדרט הכפול כלפי ישראל, העיוות והתקיפה של ישראל, הטיה נגד ישראל, לא יעזרו לאיחוד האירופי להיות שותף לדיונים במזרח התיכון, אבל מעבר לזה זה פשוט לא ראוי, לא צודק, ואנחנו לא נקבל זאת. תודה.
Pope Francis paid a special visit to the Great Synagogue in Rome yesterday for his first time ever as pontiff. He used the opportunity to condemn violence in the name of religion.
Conflitti, guerre, violenze ed ingiustizie aprono ferite profonde nell'umanità e ci chiamano a rafforzare l'impegno per la pace e la giustizia. La violenza dell'uomo sull'uomo è in contraddizione con ogni religione degna di questo nome. E in particolare con le tre grandi religioni monoteistiche. Né la violenza né la morte avranno mai l'ultima parola davanti a Dio, che è il Dio dell'amore e della vita.
The Pope also denounced all forms of anti-Semitism and called for maximum vigilance to prevent another Holocaust. Francis paid special tribute to Italian Holocaust survivors attending the event, saying their tears should never be forgotten.
Vorrei esprimere la mia vicinanza ad ogni testimone della Shoah ancora vivente e rivolgo il mio saluto particolare a coloro, a voi, che siete qui presenti. Le loro sofferenze, le loro angosce, le loro lacrime non devono mai essere dimenticate.
The Great Synagogue of Rome is located just across the Tiber River from the Vatican. Popes John Paul and Benedict also visited the same Jewish house of worship. It looks like the era of the fax machine is coming to an end in Israel. The Israeli cabinet has approved a proposal that requires government offices to accept documents by email. This might not sound like a big deal, but the simple change will transform business in the country. Sending emails for government requests will make services for citizens more efficient and reduce social gaps in society. Plus, it will cut down work hours by diminishing the bureaucratic burden. The biggest issue with doing business in Israel is inefficient government bureaucracy, according to the most recent World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report. In the past 3 years, Israel has dropped down 20 spots because of the inefficiency of the government's regulation. The simple change from faxes to emails will finally allow Israel to live up to its high-tech reputation.
באותה רוח אנחנו מביאים היום לממשלה, השרה גמליאל ואני, הצעה לכאורה פשוטה, אבל שתקל מאוד על אזרחי ישראל, כי מההחלטה הזאת והלאה, כל פנייה של אזרח למשרדי הממשלה תוכל להיעשות דרך אימייל ולא רק דרך פקסימיליה. הגיע הזמן, זה ברור.
Ministries will be instructed to make the change within 90 days. Meanwhile, the government is also trying to make it easier for new businesses to open in Israel without facing bureaucratic limitations.
מה שאנחנו באים לעשות זה להקל על מי שפותח עסק. כי היום לא ברור מה נדרש מאותו אדם או מאותו יזם או מאותו יזמת. אנחנו מאחדים, מפשטים, מבהירים את כל הדרישות בצורה ברורה ואחידה. אני חושב שהדבר הזה חשוב מאוד לקידום עסקים חדשים בישראל.
Most of us know what it's like to have an aging loved one who wants to stay independent but needs a caring hand. The Israeli startup Kaitera has developed new technology that helps monitor seniors in their daily life. Asaf Sela is the CEO and co-founder of Kaitera, and he joins us with more. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Natasha. Good morning.
Good morning. So what is Kaitera? How does it work?
So Kaitera is focused on aging in place, which is a general name for technologies that assist elders to age at their homes. Specifically, we develop an advanced remote monitoring system that is able to automatically detect distress situations as they happen. So, for example, if a person falls and cannot get up by himself.
Interesting. And so what sets it apart from similar technology like Life Alert?
So let me explain how it works. So the system includes a wristband like the one that I'm wearing. There are also wireless sensors, about 4 or 5 sensors that are spread around the house. And with this, we are able to track the activity patterns of the person and specifically track where the person is in the house, his posture, whether he's sitting, lying, walking, and so forth, and in general activity. This information is then fed to an algorithmic layer, And using sophisticated algorithms, we're able to extract the context of the activity. So we can tell whether the person is sleeping in the bedroom or having lunch in the kitchen. With this, we can automatically learn and dynamically learn the activity daily routine of the person and automatically detect distress situations. So in contrast to existing technologies in the market like Life Alert, which uses the very old panic button, which is a technology that exists for about 3 decades, almost without any technological progress, our system brings 2 main significant advantages to the market. First, it doesn't depend on an active action by the senior himself, because in most distress cases, seniors just don't press the button for various reasons. They get disoriented, they fall in a way that doesn't allow them to press, or sometimes they don't want to bother anybody. With our system, they don't have to do anything. The distress is detected automatically, and an alert is issued to service providers and family members.
Well, that's very, very interesting. That's not something that we've seen before. So where's the system active today? Where can you buy it? Where can you use it?
So the system was tested in multiple houses in Israel and in the US, and we are about to start a pilot in the US later on this quarter. And in the second half of 2016, this system is planned to be commercially available.
Interesting. And so Kaiteria is an Israeli company with Israeli pioneers. How did you guys come up with this idea?
So before Kaiteria, I'm coming from a technological background. And before Kaiteria, I was a Chief Technology Officer of Texas Instruments. And prior to that, I spent 5 years in the TI headquarters in Dallas, Texas. And when we looked at the aging market, we noticed that there is a significant gap between the value of what existing technologies in this market bring and to what more sophisticated, more of a high-tech technologies can bring to this market. Secondly, we looked at this market and we noticed that it is a huge market. It is a huge issue both in the US, in Europe, and also in Asia. And we wanted to build something that will solve a significant problem. And lastly, aside from the financial prospects, we felt and feel privileged to work on something that will make our world a bit better place to live in.
And so, I didn't ask about this before, but it is interesting. The system doesn't exactly monitor health. It obviously monitors if somebody's in a high-stress situation, but is this something that you're planning for the future? Are you trying to incorporate health into...
So correct. So right now we are focused on understanding and analyzing the behavioral aspects of a person that lives at his home, provide the alerts when there is in distress, and also provide valuable well-being information in normal times to his family members with regards to how the person is doing. Is he currently in the house? Is he wearing the wristband? Is everything okay with him? And so forth. In the future, we do plan to connect our system with other external medical monitoring devices, so we will be able to provide a complete picture that will include both the behavioral aspects as well as the medical information that is relevant to the person.
Well, I think it's huge what you guys are doing. I have grandparents at home, and I know that this would be really, really useful for our family, and I can only imagine how it will help other families around the world. So, good job.
Thank you very much, Natasha.
It's Martin Luther King Day in the United States, and Americans are celebrating across the country. The holiday might not be Jewish, but one Jewish a cappella group is honoring the civil rights leader in their own way. Check out the Maccabeats as they collaborate with the group Naturally 7 to celebrate love, freedom, and universal brotherhood.
Let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King and recognize that there are ties between us. All men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, of sister and brotherhood. And we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place in which our children can grow free and strong. We are bound together by the task that stands before us and the road that lies ahead. We are bound, we are bound.
There's a feeling like the clenching of a fist. There's a hunger in the center of the chest. There's a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest.
Shed a little light, oh
Shed a
Lord,
little light, oh Lord, oh,
so we can see.
so we can see.
Just a little light, oh
Just a little
Lord.
light, oh
Wanna stand it on up,
Lord. Standing on up, yeah.
stand it on up, stand it on
Oh
up,
Lord, can we walk it
Wanna
on?
walk it on down.
Shed a little light.
It's time for our Hebrew word of the day. Israel is a sandy place. We have beautiful beaches that stretch for miles, the desert, and today we even have a sandstorm that's blocking out the sky. This brings us to tonight's word chol, which means sand in Hebrew. Sand might not seem very important, but because it's so commonplace in Israel, it's birthed a popular Israeli phrase, Yom Chol, which means sandy day. And it refers to all the days of the year that aren't holidays or the Sabbath. Why, you ask? Well, unfortunately for us, the number of secular, non-important days are as plentiful as grains of sand, which means most of us have a lot less vacation days. On a positive note, at least every Yom Chol reminds us to appreciate each holiday we celebrate. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. If we haven't said it enough, it's a sandy day in Israel today, but don't worry about the grime. It should be washed away by rain tonight. Either way, Israelis who are sensitive to air pollution are advised to stay indoors, and tomorrow should be windy and rainy with a high of 58 degrees. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.95 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to check out our breaking newscast every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.